And Mr. Secretary, because I'm just taking a quick look, see, it certainly does look like we have quorum. If you could do roll call attendance, please. And we are called to order at 9:01 Eastern.
No, I was talking to myself. You hear me okay?
Yep.
Sorry,
Yes.
I have it on mute because I've got the draft on and all kinds of stuff going on. All right, let's start with California. Gary Alstead. Not hearing anything. Mark Brayman. Not hearing anything. Ted Brown.
Here.
Joe Brunghart. Let's see. Josh Chappell. Okay, Matt Choco.
Here.
Kobe Clark. I thought I saw Sean Dempsey.
Present and accounted for.
There he is. Ken Matz.
Here.
Josh McHose.
Here.
Tim McMaster. Justin Nana. Okay. Omar Crow is present. Mike Seebeck.
Here.
I heard him and I agree with you before the meeting. Ashley Shade. Mary Swim. Curry Taylor.
Here.
John Thompson.
Here.
Hey. Okay, Madam Chair is present. That gives us 10 primaries.
Sean Hickman's here.
Say that again.
Hickman's here.
Yeah, that gives us 10. Okay, we have 10 primaries here. All right, Clayton Cachado, I saw is present. Jim Cavoli, Carolyn Cliff, Luke Enzor, Paul Grindle, Sean Hickman.
Present.
Okay, Washington is here. Janae LeBlanc, Chris Lucchini, Daniel Mew Miller, Rachel Nix, Starchild.
Here.
All right, and then we have Kat Martin, Caleb Newbill, Tim Yo. So they're not present.
I'm here now.
Oh, Mr. Brayman.
Raymond is here now. Yeah.
Okay, I will count Brayman because we're still in the thing here. I was just about to announce. All right, so we have 11 primaries and 2 alternates that'll sit. The 2 alternates will be Sean Hickman and Starchild. So that gives us 13 total votes, Madam Chair.
Hold on, I was on mute. Thank you very much. 1 second, let me just hit send on this email. You caught me. All right.
No, it's okay, Madam Chair, take your time. We're all doing stuff. Also,
Okay.
when you get a chance, I think I need the ability to share. If
Oh, you do. Yep. Oh, God, I hate Zoom. I know I'm sounding more like a boomer every day. Here we go. Okay. So it's now opportunity for public comment. It looks like we have one member of, is he still here? Mr. Thrain? Yes. Mr. Thrain, do you wish to address the committee at all?
No, thank you, Ms. Arlos. I'm just listening.
Right, thank you. And any committee members have any time that would belong more, anything to say that would more appropriately belong here, as it's not specifically an agenda item?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
So for everybody that got here late, Mr. Seebeck had made a comment, and I agree with them, and it was basically, let's just get this done tonight, please. That's all I have to say.
Okay, let me address that because I know everyone probably thinks I'm a monster right now when they saw that I set 3 more meetings. Believe me, I don't want a million more meetings, but notice requirements mean that I have to if it looks like we might not get done. I'll be just as glad to cancel. I'm not some kind of sadist, just so you know, that's going, whoa, that I can't wait to ruin y'all's next week. So I just wanted to let you know the reason for me doing that was just so we didn't run into any notice issues. Mr. Seebeck.
Yeah, we recognize you're just doing the job. My concern is the ordering in a lot of ways really doesn't mean too much, because if the delegates on the floor want to rearrange the order, they're going to do so. So rather than spin our wheels like we did 2 days ago, let's just get an order set, figure out, make sure our rationales are good, and let's get this thing polished up and out the door.
Mr. McHose?
When will motions be in order for any? I was mulling over one of the later links, like that was further down. I went through all of the comments, saw that what was the specific issues. It was S way down at the bottom. I was just trying to see when would it be in order if I wanted to amend it to deal with some of those concerns.
It would be in order technically after we dispose of the motions that are presently on the floor, though some people have already asked to kind of like be ahead. So while technically in order, there were some people who are kind of like in line ahead.
I think I was in line as well last when we ended.
Yeah, so basically when we're done disposing of the motions that are on the floor and there isn't a current motion on the floor, then it would be in order. Star Child?
Yeah, I just wanted to alert people if they haven't checked the email recently. I posted a message a little bit earlier suggesting one more actually two more proposals to be dropped. Failing dropping them, proposed to combine them. That would be Q and T, both on the national defense plank. And I wrote about the reasons why in the email.
Okay, thank you, Star Child. Mr. Choco?
I have a couple things, but following on what Star Child just said right there, we still can go one amendment deeper here, right? We have Brown and then we have the Curry amendment. So they could go one further. Is that right?
Yes, but it has to be germane to the Curry amendment.
Right. Well, so dropping proposals, would that be germane?
If they're on Mr. Taylor's list, yes.
Which is every proposal that we have, right?
No, Mr. Taylor's motion.
Oh, is
was-
other than the top 11.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I forgot what my original thing was. So yeah, I don't really remember what I'm gonna say. Thanks.
Check the list, Matt. You put a couple things out on the list. Maybe you put your thoughts there.
No, I think I had. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't that stuff, but thanks.
Hey, Mr. Brayman?
Since you said an amendment to the Taylor amendment is in order, I would like to move to drop
Okay,
proposal C from that list.
one moment, please. We're not at a public comment portion yet.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to give opportunity and I believe, oh crap, I need to check notes. When we left off last time, there were a couple people on deck. Though I don't know if it's still relevant. I'm trying to find my notes here. If someone, I can't find where I stuck that note. If I had promised somebody that they were going to be first this time, please use Scout's honor and let me know, because I do want to keep that promise. But otherwise, Mr. Brayman, you know, we'll have plenty of time to be amending Mr. Taylor's amendment. We're almost out of time for public comment. We've only got a couple more minutes. I've heard from everybody, so I don't know whose hand was up first. So I'm gonna go with Star Child.
Oh, sorry, I didn't lower mine from before.
Mr. Seebeck.
Madam Chair, I respectfully disagree with your statement. Dropping a motion to drop proposals is not in scope of the primary or the amendment, which is about ordering what is present, not adding or removing anything.
Well, when it comes time for that, you can appeal my ruling. Mr. Chilko.
Well, so my original thing was going to be, I believe Mr. McHose mentioned they might want to amend the proposal. I recognize that Robert's rules are what they are, but I just want to point out that if there's an amendment that someone's going to offer that's going to substantively change something, it would be nice to know that before we order the proposals. So, you know, it might change where those things should end up. And then
Let me set the committee. I don't know if this will set the committee's mind at ease at all. Allow me a little latitude. Can we please get through the ordering? And if there is something that in my reading of the room that seems to have general support for switching around, because I don't vote, I'm not on the losing side, I will make the appropriate motions to reconsider if it does seem like it's something that the committee wants to do. But right now, it seems like we're doing a lot of agonizing about the fact that we have certain motions on the floor and they are what they are.
okay,
Unless
well,
you
then
wish to make a motion to postpone, as I did suggest was your right on the list. Now, we're not yet at me recognizing people for motions.
I don't want to make a motion. I have one more question though.
Sure.
In terms of dropping a proposal, once we have set an order of proposals that has called out every proposal by name, does it take a reconsideration to then drop a proposal?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
If without objection, if anyone else still has questions, even though we're technically out of time, I'd like to hear them so we can be expeditious once we get to actual things. So Mr. Brown, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to speak in favor of the Taylor amendment and my own main motion there, that we should pass those. And frankly, from what you were talking about, it would seem like if we did end up combining combining any of them later, that they're still going to be assigned a letter and it's still on the list. And so it would already have an assignment. So I think that unless somebody wanted to say, if you wanted to combine, say, M and R or something like that, if you did that, then you're still using one of those same letters and it's already on the list. So I don't think it's really a problem about moving it around if we combine anything.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Brown. Starchild, is this a question or
Yeah.
can we? Okay,
That's a
thank you.
question.
What
I
is
just
it?
wanted to clarify. You said in response to Matt that you think dropping proposals, and I presume also combining them, would not take a motion to reconsider. I just wanted to clarify if that's your formal ruling to give anybody a chance to
I
challenge
cannot
that.
make a formal ruling until there's actual motions. What I can give you is my opinion at this moment, but it's just, you know, circumstances can change. It's not a ruling until there's an actual motion. But I'm trying to make things as easy on us as possible here. I'm not trying to make us a slave to the rules. I'm trying to get a sense of what the committee wants to do without going too nutso here where it risks members' rights being violated.
Right on.
Okay, I think we're done with the public comment portion. Now, Scout's Honor, is there anyone I promised would be first when we came back to this meeting? Because I honestly cannot find my notes and I know there, and it might be somebody who's not at this meeting right now. Okay, so we are on the Taylor Amendment. And Mr. Brayman, I know wanted to make a motion, and I know Mr. Brown wanted to speak, but he may wish to wait. Mr. Brayman.
Yes, I would like to move to drop C from this list to be added at this point. We need to look carefully. The ordering of this puts G before C. I implore the committee to look at proposal G. It contains a final wording that accomplishes everything that we had proposed to accomplish with C, plus more. So it really makes very little sense to have the convention look at proposal C after they've looked at proposal G. And I think it actually does a disservice to our report to even include C in this position, because I think most convention members will be very confused by the presence of C after G.
Could you just briefly explain what C is, just so people are following along that aren't on the committee that might be listening?
So let me.
We're not going to pull it up. I mean, is that the one that strikes unreasonably?
No, D
This
is the
one
one that
moves.
strikes
Okay.
unreasonably.
It
So,
moves it to a different part of the platform.
so proposal G, if adopted, will read 3.4, free migration. We support the removal of governmental impediments to free migration, political freedom, economic opportunity, and escape from tyranny. Demand that individuals not be unreasonably constrained by government in the crossing of political boundaries. And 2.8, marketplace freedom. Libertarians support free markets. We defend the right of individuals to form corporations, cooperatives, and other types of entities based on voluntary association. We oppose all forms of government subsidies and bailouts to business, labor, or any other special interest. Government should not compete with private enterprise. Economic freedom demands the unrestricted movement of goods, labor, and capital across international borders.
So let me make sure I understand what you're suggesting is that in proposal G, we move the plank at that time?
Proposal G, okay, includes changes to both 3.4 and 2.8. I don't understand why we would go back and propose to move something to 3.4 after we've already created the wording in 3.4 in proposal G.
Okay,
It makes no sense.
I think there's some fundamental confusion here, and it could be in the way something got worded here, but I'm pulling up something here so that I can speak intelligently. Proposal G is to split apart the free trade and migration plank. It's to split it into two by moving language from 3.4, changing the title, and moving that last sentence to 2.8 so that two different topics are proposed. So it's leaving everything in its current, like the titles, in its current positions in section 2 and section 3. It's just moving some language around. Proposal C then takes the amended 3.4 and moves it to section 1, because it doesn't make sense to move it unless proposal G passes, because then proposal G is still, then 3.4 is still talking about free trade, which doesn't belong in section 1. So the part about trade has to be stricken from 3.4 before it makes any sense at all to move it to section 1. Now we can combine G and C so that it gets moved at the same time, so that our motion is to move that sentence from the end, make those little changes there, and also move the plank up to section 1. We can do that.
Well, that would be my intent then. I wasn't sure that we could do that.
Okay, so hold on one second here. I want to look at something here, just one moment. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page as to what proposal G. Okay. I do not believe that right now a combination of a plank is in order. I believe combining a plank would be in order after we resolve these amendments. What would be in order, because if this passes, I think at least you have a sense of the committee, and also it would, you know, if you think C would come next, like you could move C up. Combinations aren't in order. Striking something from the list right now is in order, but combining something I don't believe is until we have an actual list.
Okay, I'm just pointing this out to people that if we end up with G and then separately C as two separate planks dealing with free trade and migration, I think we will confuse the convention. We've already gotten confused ourselves today.
It will not be quite so confusing. I hope I can explain this well. Part of the problem is because the way we have to look at our proposals is with the language as it exists now. But when it goes up on the screen, it will already have been, if G passes, it will have already have been amended because the amendment will go into effect immediately. And I do not think it will be confusing at that point. I think the only reason it's confusing right now is because G hasn't passed. And I believe we already agreed as a committee that we were not going to present C if G didn't pass. That
Okay,
was
so the other challenge with putting C after D is the wording looks like it restores the word unreasonably.
okay.
So
No,
if
it
D,
doesn't. It doesn't. This is the wording in the way things are presented in the column format has to reflect the current wording of the platform. It can't presume the passage of a previous change. However, if the unreasonable language gets stricken, when C is presented on the screen, it won't be there because that will have gone into effect already. The only reason it looks that way for us is because we as a committee can't presume the passage of something. So each proposal has to show the language as it exists now, even though we know that some prior motions of ours might change it. But when it gets presented to the convention, if unreasonably is struck, when C is stuck up on screen, unreasonably will not be there.
that may work in person when you're presenting it, but in the report that we're making that's going to be printed and handed out, I think it will be confusing.
There will be an extensive explanation the way there was in the survey that said that we'll work on explaining it. And I really hate to say this because I know all of us would wish things were different, but Colorado, when they almost passed my conjoined twin plank, most people are not going to read the report. And that's an unfortunate reality. For those of you who don't know, Mike Seebeck knows, I put in fake planks in the Colorado platform reports to see if anyone's actually reading the report. And we've had multiple times motions to adopt the entire report when there was a plank in there that said any one of a set of conjoined twins has the right to commit suicide. Okay. Nobody read it. And then the next year I said, Colorado wanted to build a wall on the Western Slope and make California pay for it. It has convinced me that very few people actually read the report. They're going to listen more so. And the kind of people who actually read the report, I think will understand the explanatory notes. I could be wrong. I'm just giving you kind of my experience. The way to avoid that confusion or potential confusion is to strike out the word unreasonably. At the same time, that won't even necessarily avoid it because there could be amendments. You've got to understand that even with our report as it is now, where it looks like it could be confusing because what people will see in the report is different from what we're proposing on screen, that can happen anyway. In any of our proposals, that touch upon multiple planks, because they can always amend it from the floor to look differently than we proposed it. And people can make amendments from the floor to a plank that we're also planning on amending, so that when they look at the report, it's going to be different from the way it's shown on the screen. It's just unavoidable with bylaws and platform, with effects taking effect immediately. I guess on this, I'm just asking you to trust me that I know how to present it. But I will call upon you when it's in order, if you would like to make the either striking or combat. You can strike now. But striking it means it's not going to get moved. But combinations have to wait till these two motions are dealt with.
Okay.
Okay. I have Mr. Seebeck, then Starchild.
Yeah, two things. One, I can confirm everything that Karen Ann has said about the Colorado platform with the conjoined twins and the wall. It's totally correct. But I also have a request for information. I've been working off of the version that's the 3-column markup that's in the shared drive. It is not matching up to what's on the screen. Did we lose something in keeping things up, or what am I missing here? Is what's on the screen the most current?
I'm looking. What you talking about for proposal C?
Yeah.
What is different from what?
Well, for starters, in the 3-column, it lists on the 3rd column, it lists it as 1.8 instead of 1.2, which is kind of weird. That may just be a typo, but that's what would make me stop and wonder about.
That's a typo.
Okay.
It's 1.2.
Okay, fair enough. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing, you know?
Let me note that so that doesn't make its way into the report, but it was 1.2. We moved it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the argument that free movement kind of follows after self-ownership type.
Well, that's fair. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right copy.
Yes, that's a typo.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Starchild.
Yeah, I would like to make a move to drop.
Okay, what is your motion?
And I don't know if you want to handle these separately. I want to propose we drop Q and T.
I think because they are unrelated and we can only go one more amendment deep, that we do handle them separately. Is there one you would prefer to discuss first?
Well, the one I think is more important to drop is T, because I really think it's the content is very problematic. Q might be an easier drop just because I don't think it really does anything. So I'm happy to consider them in whatever order.
Okay. Now that I'm looking at what I know you're going to kill me, Starchild, and Mr. Seebeck's going to be happy. No matter what I do, someone's going to be upset and someone is going to be happy. Now that I'm looking at it, I see Mr. Seebeck's point. That dropping is going to be dropping is going to be reconsidering the adoption. No, actually a motion to strike. Starchild, unfortunately, I think Mr. Seebeck, I've been considering his point, is correct, that we need to stick with ordering right now. And after the ordering, we can do all the combinations and drops at that time. So we need to dispose of these pending motions.
Okay, well, that was my initial thought, that we would do that first in the order it was, but it sounded like you were saying like, well, we had to do drops now if we're going to do them.
Yeah, I was double thinking myself.
Okay.
So we are on still Mr. Curry's amendment, not Mr. Curry, Mr. Taylor's amendment, which adds the remainder of the proposals in that order of P through L. Mr. Brown.
Yes, like I was saying before, I wanted to speak in favor of Mr. Taylor's amendment. I'd only proposed the limited number of them to start with because I figured people might think the entire list was too radical, but I don't see any reason not to adopt the entire list all the way down like Mr. Taylor proposed. So I certainly favor adding his amendment to my original motion.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Star Child, did you mean to keep your hand up?
No, sorry. Well, if I might, I would just suggest that, we modify it slightly by moving T down to after G, or I'm sorry, after C, because those three, D, C, and G were reordered. So it's now G, D, C, I believe, in Curry's proposal. That way, T and Q would appear next to each other, which would make it easier to combine them if that's what we end up doing. So they're both national defense planks
Okay,
modifications.
and that amendment is in order. Yay. So there is now a secondary amendment to the Taylor amendment, and it is to move T to just below C, right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Do you have that, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, move T below C.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got it here. Thank you.
And you need to speak to that further, Star Child.
No, it's just pretty straightforward. As I said, it puts the two national defense planks together.
Okay, I have to ask, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this?
Can we see the motion on the screen?
Yeah, I'm giving the secretary a moment. And I ask everyone to please remember to lower their hands when they're done speaking.
That's you, Star Child.
I know, I'm looking for the button. Hey, give me a minute.
I got you this time.
Okay.
Okay, so who made that request? And I'd like to know exactly. So you wanted to see what the order would look like?
Yep, that was Josh. Goes.
Okay, so it would be like that. That would be the amended Taylor amendment. Moving T to just after C, with the rationale being both T and Q have to do with national defense, and Star Child is considering combining those two. So he put them next to each other so they'll be easy to combine.
Sounds fine.
Okay, is there any objection to Star Child's amendment to the Taylor amendment? Seeing none, that passes. We're back on the Taylor amendment. Mr. Brayman, did you object or?
No, well, I have one more amendment or question.
Okay,
Will it be difficult to combine G with C if D is in between them? Do we need to move C right adjacent to G in order to facilitate their combination afterwards without necessarily folding in D?
no, you don't necessarily, because it's just in your motion. In your motion, you would say that you're combining C into G, and that puts it like right where G is.
Okay.
Those three are related, so I don't want to start moving those all around, and people then we're going to have a separate argument on that trio, I think. So I think we should save that for its own little drama, I think. Anyone else wish to speak on the Taylor amendment as amended? Okay, now is Mr. Choco.
Yeah, never mind.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to ask, is there any objection to the Taylor amendment as amended? Seeing none, that passes. So now we're back to the main motion, which is Brown plus Taylor. You guys make a cute couple. So all of the that list, if you could get that in the order up on the screen, Mr. Secretary. I'll give you a
Yep.
moment for that.
Give me 30 seconds because I'm just gonna do one big copy and paste here just to make my life simple.
Just let me know when you have it done. While you're working on that, I did want to remind the committee that once we have the order that I already did give notice of my intent to combine N and O. So that's going to be the first motion we're going to hear because I gave notice of that right at the beginning of the last meeting. And then other combinations or whatever would be in order. I just wanted to remind, I know it's been a while. I just wanted to remind people of that. Once we have our ordering.
Okay, Madam Chair, other than just getting it straightened out on the screen, that's pretty much it. So the first line here was the first original motion, and then down here are the bottom ones.
So it's,
T following C and yeah.
all right, so let me read this aloud. The ordering, the main motion would be to order our proposals B, A, N, O, J, X, K, M, R, I, W, P, Y, U, F, V, G, D, C, T, Q, S, L.
It's like an eye test.
I'm sorry? Yeah.
Like an eye test.
Did anyone wish to speak further?
I'd like to buy a vowel.
All right. Is there any objection to passing this as our order?
That our order. I know this guy. He's a Polish friend of mine. No objection here. Just a joke.
All right. Seeing none, that is our order. So now combinations and reconsiderations to delete things are perfectly in order. But the first one we're going to hear was my motion to combine proposals N and O. Now, that's the two healthcare ones. At this point, it is. I'm going to ask if you guys have them handy in front of you in order to meaningfully vote or no. So I'm going to let you know N was adding the sentence to the end of healthcare. We oppose governments either mandating or restricting voluntary access to medical treatments or procedures, including vaccines. And O was adding a second sentence to the same plank that said medical facilities, medical providers, and medical products, including drugs, must be freely available in the marketplace without government restrictions or licenses. The two are not mutually exclusive, so I'm moving to combine them so that we will be proposing both changes at once. If the convention doesn't like that, they can always move to divide it. But
Madam
I
Chair.
think I'm gonna just speak. Oh, is this some kind of thing before I can speak to my
No,
motion?
no, I spoke too soon. Sorry.
Okay. I think on things that seem to have about the same amount of approval and weren't terribly controversial, that we might as well take a shot at doing it in one motion because the convention could always divide it. If they feel it's something they want to consider separately, but you know, we might as well try, I think. Okay, I had Mr. Choco's hand up and then yourself, Mr. Ricuro, or did you have some kind of question?
Just a quick question. What's the number of the plank? Because I'm trying to find it.
Oh, 2.13.
2.13, right. Thank you.
Mr. Choco.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I I feel like these are both very likely to pass without too much drama. They're both popular and both pretty straightforward, and I think it makes sense to save convention time and combine them.
Thank you, Mr. Chilko. Mr. Seebeck.
I'm not sure that the convention is not going to divide these. I can see that one coming from a mile away. And I'll tell you why, because the whole idea of unlicensed, unregulated medications is going to hit a sore spot when it comes to the counterexample of these ridiculous COVID vaccines. It's going to come up. Somebody's going to raise it, not necessarily me. So I think we should expect it to be divided. But that being said, I think combining it here is no problem because I think it'll help streamline a report.
I'm eating some salad at the same time. Sorry, and I don't want you all to hear the crunching. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, is there any objection to combining proposals N and O? Just so you know, because I know we're going to, for right now, if this does pass, we're going to call it the earlier one in the order, whatever it is, I think N. In our report, our proposals are going to be numbered, not lettered. These letters were our working. That's how I distinguish between our report and kind of our hodgepodge working draft. So if you're wondering, the report's going to go proposal 1, 2, 3. It's not going to be letters. But for right now, we'll call it, if it combined, it'll be just called proposal N, which will include both of them. All right, is there any objection? All right, hearing none, that passes. Mr. Brayman and Starchild. Mr. Brayman had asked first in the public comment section. So you guys both raise your hand at the same time, but I'm going to call upon Mr. Brayman first. You're both going to get a chance to be heard. Mr. Brayman.
Usually his hand was up first anyway, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Starchild.
I move to combine proposals G and C by changing the numbering of the first part of G to make it match with proposal C. And we have to make sure that proposal G does not remove the word unreasonably yet, because I believe proposal D should remain separate and something that the convention can vote on separately afterwards.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, we talked about this a little bit before, your proposal is to combine G and C. C is moving the amended plank up to section 1, but rather than doing it in 2 steps, you wanted it in one motion. And again, the convention could always do some kind of division if they wish. This does, as Mr. Seebeck argued before, it could streamline our report. That's obviously an opinion that you guys will need to reach or not. So the motion is to combine proposals G and C so that if it passes, all we'd be left with is what will now be called proposal G, which will include moving it up to 3.4 up to 1.2. Did you wish to speak further to that, Mr. Brayman?
Just that I think it's important to also make sure that proposal G still includes the wording unreasonably.
It will, because that other proposal will not even have been heard yet.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Starchild.
Oh, excuse me, I just took a bite.
Yeah.
Eating here, let's fire my camera off. If it's now in order, I would move my previously stated motion to drop T.
That we need to dispose of Brayman's first,
Okay,
but you then are next on deck for that because you two kind of rushed to the hands the first time. Mr. McHose.
I'm just gonna in line behind Starchild.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak to the Brayman proposal?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Secretary?
I had G and C up and then I thought we were going to go past that, so I took it off. Does Mr. Brayman wish to, we're just combining
What he
Okay.
wishes to do is in
One
proposal,
move.
one move. In proposal G, as part of the amendment,
Right,
is to strike the number 3.4 and renumber it as 1.2.
right. And then adopt the wording from the other proposal, right?
There's no wording change in the other proposal. It's just a move.
Well, one of them is a move and the other one is it has wording in it, no?
No. We have 3 proposals on immigration. And
I
after
know.
this, hopefully we'll only have 2. One of them changes the wording while splitting the plank.
That's what I mean. One of them
Yes,
changes
that's
the
all in
wording.
G, but that's already in G. So he's combining all he's doing is folding C into G.
That's what I meant. We're taking the
Yes.
wording that we're proposing and also doing a move. So,
Yes.
right. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind it. I think it's a bad idea. I think some of the stuff that you guys are trying to do is a bad idea, but I'm not going to be the one nay vote. So let's just go.
Okay, Mr. McCose, were you wishing to speak to this?
No. I'll
Okay.
take my hand down to just.
Okay, because I've got you and Star Child down for you. I know you, whoops, I know you two have motions you wish to make. Would anyone wish to speak to this Brayman proposal?
If someone has reservations, I'd like to hear them. Just, keep an open mind and.
Well, that's what the invitation is for now.
I mean, it sounds reasonable to me, but Omar or whoever was just speaking said they were not liking it, but didn't want to speak against it. So I don't know if that really.
Okay,
satisfying.
one moment. We can't pressure other committee members into speaking if they feel they've read the room and they don't wish to. We're all adults. We all know we can speak if we wish to. I don't want to unnecessarily prolong things by making people feel like they need to speak when they don't want to. I just make clear here, everyone in the room, even if you think the whole room's against you, you do have a right to speak, but you also have a right not to speak. So anyone like to speak to the Brayman proposal? Is there any objection? Excuse me, to the Brayman proposal? Hearing none, that passes. I have Star Child up now to make a motion.
Okay, yeah, as stated, I would like to drop proposal T.
Which is, one moment. Okay, this needs to be a motion to reconsider. I do not believe you were on the winning side on this, but in the interest.
I think it was unanimous, but the reason it was that I supported at the time is because we were talking about some other things that I thought were even worse, and I guess didn't quite fully grasp the
I just want to,
significance of the vote.
in order to make it without a doubt, I know I didn't vote on it, so I will sponsor the motion to reconsider because I don't want to have to go back through voting records.
But
So
I did, Madam Chair, I thought you were saying that moves to drop would not require reconsideration. Didn't you say that earlier?
No, you're, yeah. Hold on one second. I'm very tired.
No worries.
Okay, I know this is going to sound like I'm splitting hairs, and I am, but hopefully I can explain myself. If the reason for saying we want to drop something is, say, like for the reason I wanted to drop that omissions plank because it bombed on the survey, even though I still personally supported it, I don't think that's a reconsideration because it isn't that I have buyer's regret. But basically what I hear you saying is you voted for it, but now you don't agree with it. It's not because it bombed on the survey. It's not because of anything we didn't already know at the time it was voted on. There isn't any new information. And because of that, I do think it requires a reconsideration. And I hope that made sense to everybody as to the difference between the two. And to make the record clear, I will do the move to reconsider. I see I'll talk to Mr. Choco.
I think that there is new information because there has been a survey taken. That information is here, just the same as it was for any other motion to strike.
That wasn't
And
Star Child's
Star
reason.
Child or I may have considered that information and decided that, you know, the plank is problematic. So it's hard for me to see how that justification makes sense.
Well,
Well, Madam Chair, is there any practical difference?
Yes, there is.
A reconsideration, does that require 2/3?
No, it's not that it will require a greater vote threshold, but it's that it will, instead of striking, people can move to amend instead. So if we move to reconsider, it's as if we're considering the plank anew. So in order to strike it, we'd have to vote it down. I understand Matt's point, but I can't ignore the fact that Star Child did give his reasons, and his reasons had nothing to do with the survey. But I welcome an appeal. If someone wishes to appeal and doesn't believe it requires a reconsideration, that it can just be a motion to strike. But I think Star Child was pretty clear on his reasons. It wasn't because of the survey. It's because he personally has decided differently, maybe got confused at the original meeting, whatever it might be. So that's my ruling, that it requires a reconsideration. Would anyone like to appeal the ruling of the chair? Just shout out if you do.
I would appeal from the ruling of the chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Choco. So there's an appeal from the ruling of the chair. And the ruling is that this would, in order to strike proposal T, it would require a reconsideration. This appeals from the ruling of the chair are debatable. I've already spoken all I wish to the issue. I've explained it to the best of my ability. So I will not be speaking on this anymore. Mr. Choco, would you like to speak to your appeal?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly just gave it a minute ago, but another big factor is, you know, I understood, I thought that, you know, a few minutes ago, when we were still dealing with the ordering stuff, that it was explained that motions to strike would not require reconsideration. And, you know, I proceeded with that understanding. Now, obviously it's, you know, my job to understand what's going on. But I thought that's what the chair was saying at the time. So I proceeded to conduct business that way, that time, with this in mind, that this could happen now. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's right. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Choco. Mr. Brown.
You might be muted, Ted. We can't hear you. Or I can't anyway.
Sorry about that. I couldn't find the buttons there for a sec. Anyway, I think that I'm against the ruling of the chair for the reason is if we reconsider this, it means we can just start debating this entire plank again. I think that by just moving to strike it from the report doesn't mean that we don't like it any more or less than we did before, or that we don't, that we'd want to change it in any way. We just don't believe it should be in the report. So I think just a motion just to strike it from the report would be an agreeable motion, because it has nothing to do with whether we like it or don't like it. It's just a matter of whether we think it should be in the report or not.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, you're muted.
Oh, the mic was muted. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was gonna ask this before we got into the appeal as a request for information. So is it Star Child's objection I mean, not objection, is it does Star Child want to reconsider their proposal, meaning open it up? Or is the intent to strike the proposal?
His intent was to strike the proposal. And I had said, and I had ruled that in order to strike it, we would need to go through a process of reconsideration and vote it down as if we were voting on it anew. But it would, of course, open it up to amendment again, just like it was a fresh proposal. Does that answer your inquiry?
Okay, so one more question. That means that we have to do 2 votes. We have to first do the vote to reconsider, and then we're back to proposal T.
Yes. But right now we're on the appeal.
Okay, right. This helps me understand how I want to vote, because that means that I would have to, for the first time ever with you, I would have to, I guess, rule to overturn a ruling of a chair in order to just make it a strike.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on the appeal from the ruling of the chair by Mr. Cholko?
Request for information.
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Earlier, the chair said that she would be willing to sponsor the motion to reconsider herself. Is that
Yes.
something you're willing to do? And so if so, is the appeal to the ruling of the chair necessary? It's going to happen anyway, right?
Well, I would be willing to sponsor the reconsideration if that was acceptable to the person making the motion. Like, I wouldn't force a reconsideration on Star Child if that wasn't acceptable to him. I was just saying, if someone else was otherwise precluded because they might have not voted on the non-losing side, that I would just make the motion for them. But Star Child just wants to strike it. So me moving to reconsider as a favor to him to move things along is not acceptable to him. He wants to strike it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm not going to speak. Mr. Secretary, a roll call vote. And what we are voting on is whether or not the ruling of the chair shall be sustained. The ruling of the chair was in order to potentially strike proposal T. It would first require a motion to reconsider, which would then make it as if this was being proposed for the first time. And the way to strike it would be to just vote it down in its entirety, but people could move to amend and do all kinds of fun stuff with it. A yes vote would sustain my ruling. A no vote would overturn my ruling. It requires more no votes than yes votes to overturn. A tie will sustain. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're gonna start with Mark Brayman.
No.
Okay, Ted Brown,
No.
Matt Cholko,
No.
Sean Hickman,
No.
John Dempsey,
Yes.
Ken Math,
No.
Josh McHose,
No.
Omar Curl is going to vote no. Mike Seebeck,
Same.
Star Child,
No.
Curry Taylor,
Abstain.
abstain,
Yes, sir.
John Thompson.
Abstain.
Okay. I'm gonna get this on the screen for you guys over here. Oh, I gotta go back to the first sheet. Give me a second.
No problem.
Zoom is blocking me.
I know that feeling.
There we go. If everybody could see that, I hope I didn't miss anyone. And the time is now 10 o'clock. Madam Chair, I show 1 in favor, 9 opposed, and 2 express abstentions.
Okay, the ruling of the chair has been overturned. What we are on now is Star Child's motion to strike proposal T. Star Child, would you like to speak to your motion?
Objection to consideration of the question.
I do not believe objection to consideration of the question is in order in committees. I might need to look this up, but I'll give you my reason. For the same reason that you can't call the question, that the spirit of committees is to have the committee's considered judgment on every question, and that an objection to the consideration of the question is the same thing as foreclosing discussion on an item relevant to the committee. That is not obviously embarrassing to the party or something where there would be some overriding reason outside the scope of this committee. So I rule that out of order, Mr. Seebeck.
I appeal the ruling from the chair. There is nothing in section 26 that says it does not apply to committees.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. I've already spoken. Would anyone else like to speak from the appeal from the ruling of the chair? And let me just explain what Mr. Seebeck's motion would do. An objection to the consideration of the question is not debatable, which means, actually, that means the appeal is not debatable as well. But let me just explain the effect of his motion. It would be that the way you probably have it right in front of you, Mike, so I don't want to misquote Roberts, but it basically, an objection to consideration of the question is generally that it just is not in the body's best interest to even consider the issue, that it should just pass it by without a vote. That's basically what objection to consideration of the question does. I do concede that it does not explicitly say that it doesn't apply in committees, but under committees, it does say the reasons why you can't move to end debate. I've used that same logic to say why you can't put time limits on an agenda, even though it doesn't say you can't do that either. The spirit is the same. And I think Roberts would be 10 times as big if it anticipated every possible situation. And considering that the purpose of the committee is to consider all questions that are properly within its realm, that are not inherently injurious to the party, that is why I have ruled it out of order. I'm just explaining my ruling for the record. This is a non-debatable appeal. So we're going to move directly to a roll call vote whenever the secretary is ready. Once again, a yes vote would sustain my ruling, which would have the effect of us moving to debate and voting on the Star Child motion. A no vote would overturn my ruling, which means Star Child's motion would not be considered, and we would move to Mr. McHose, I believe, who was next in line. A tie vote would sustain my ruling. Okay, Mr. Secretary, whenever you are ready.
Yes, Madam Chair. Mark Raymond.
Yes.
Okay, Ted Brown.
Abstain.
Okay, Matt Choco.
Yes.
Sean Hickman.
Abstain.
Sean Dempsey.
Yes.
Ken Max.
Yes.
Josh McHose.
Yes.
Omar Curl votes aye to sustain. Mike Seebeck.
Obviously, no.
Star Child.
Yes.
Corey Taylor.
Yes.
John Thompson.
Abstain.
Okay. And switch over here. Madam Chair, I am showing 8 in favor, 1 opposed, 3 express abstentions.
Okay, so the ruling of the chair is sustained. Star Child, would you like to speak to your motion to strike?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. As I stated email, I'm more or less going to read my email here. I don't know if people have read it or not. So the problem basically is with the second sentence, which of the 2 sentences that's being added, the second one says, we call for the government to honor any contractual commitments it makes for their medical care, talking about people who have worked for the United States military. And the more I thought about that, the more problematic it became to me. I think we'd initially been considering some language that I thought was even worse, which is why I voted for this, but didn't really sort of think about the fact of putting this into the final report. But anyway, the problem is that there's so many people that have various claims, contractual and otherwise, on the federal government. And the reality is the federal government is already 20-something trillion dollars in debt. They're adding to the debt every year. There's all kinds of unsustainable financial bombs waiting in the future that are going to make that situation even less financially tenable. And the reality, again, is just the federal government is not going to have the resources to repay everybody or compensate everybody who has contractual claims or moral claims or treaty claims or otherwise claims to be made whole that libertarians would agree with. And I think for us to call out one single group and say, well, in the case of former military employees of the US government, we're going to say that their claims need to be honored, you know, without addressing any of these other claims. And then to raise just a few that I mentioned, Indian tribes, you know, that had treaties violated, land stolen from them, people who were victims of eminent domain had land stolen from them, persons who've been wrongfully incarcerated by the government for things that should not be crimes and which there was no constitutional authorization to incarcerate them for. Perhaps the biggest one, Social Security. You know, everybody who's paid into that system over the years has, you know, I would argue some kind of contractual claim to get money from it in their retirement. But we know that's realistically not going to happen. The Social Security system's going bankrupt. The money's not going to be there. You know, those are people who didn't necessarily, in most cases, do anything voluntary to get into that system. They simply had money stolen from their paychecks by the government and sort of the promise held out of retirement payment. You know, they didn't make a decision like most people who became government soldiers to voluntarily go into the military. So to me, it is very wrong and misguided for us to put this one group of people that have a claim, you know, former government soldiers, you know, ahead of those Social Security and all these other recipients, potential recipients, you know, who are victimized by government one way or another, especially when the soldiers include people that were in some cases involved in things like human rights abuses at, you know, places like Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, or, you know, for which they were never held accountable. And people who, you know, more broadly just participated in wars of aggression and things that the government military was doing that libertarians don't agree with. And I really don't think we want to, you know, specifically elevate those people, you know, into the head of the line of all the people that are owed money by government, whether contractually or morally or whatever. So I would strongly encourage people to drop this plank. And I'll leave it at that because I know someone just told me last night I'm too long-winded. So.
And one moment, just for the committee's information, in looking up some things, I believe the overturning of my prior ruling was correct. That Starchild's motion is actually more properly a motion to rescind, which is in order. But I found that out. I wanted to just, for learning experience, to just let everyone know, even though my ruling was sustained and it was based upon the spirit of the purpose of a committee, I would just like, for educational purposes, to let everyone know that objection to consideration of the question is only applicable to an original main motion. A motion to rescind is an incidental main motion. So regardless, objection to consideration of the question is not applicable to an incidental main motion, even though that wasn't the reason for my ruling. This was just for teaching moment in the future if anybody is ever in this situation again. Mr. Seebeck.
All right, well, Starchild's long non sequitur aside, which was destroyed in the list earlier, I want to point out a couple things here. Number one, I'm trying to get this veterans issue addressed by this committee for 4 years. 4 years, okay? 4 years of talking with members of our armed forces, both active and retired, from all branches across that I've served with in my role as a contractor for the government. Okay, these are people who have served their country. They have put on the uniform. They have been the instrument of policy, whether they like the policy or not. They did their duty. And by the way, there's a lot of retired veterans in this party.
Including myself.
Starchild, you're out of order. I'm talking.
Yes, let's please not have crosstalk, please. And I do.
Not done yet, please.
Okay, thank you. Continue, Mr. Seebeck.
The reality of it is this. The veterans contingency within this country numbers in the tens of millions. This is a contingency of people that have given their blood, their lives, their limbs, and their family has had to support that too, so that we can sit here and talk about this stuff. They are owed a lot more than the average person in this country. They are also people who have chosen a much harder life for themselves than we have. So to sit here and claim that they should not be accorded any greater respect for doing things for us that we ourselves have chosen not to do is ridiculous. This plank is about defense and the people who do it. As was in the original rationale, the whole point of this had to do with honoring those people. We are a party about individuals. These individuals have done more for us and our freedom than we have, and that deserves respect. That's why this was proposed. It's not about the policy put out by the people in the Pentagon or in DC. It's about the people at the end of the spear who are shedding all that blood, all those lives, and all the hardship that they endure personally in order to do what we aren't. That's why this is in here. That is a huge contingency that the Democrats are just roundly disparaging, and the Republicans are only lip serving, and they both do nothing but put them in harm's way. We're the only party that's against putting them in harm's way, and we are also the ones who should respect and honor the fact that they have been, and that's why this is here. That's why I object to restriking this. This has been too long and waiting to get done.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Mr. Brown.
Yes, this is actually a case where I mostly agree with Star Child on this one. I'm not comfortable with this language. In fact, this one was voted on at the one meeting I wasn't able to attend, and I did speak pretty much against it at the previous meeting. I'm not comfortable with that contractual commitments wording either. I certainly would make sure that anyone who was injured in the line of duty or whatever would certainly continue to remain to get medical care. But I don't think this is really needed. Our original wording is just fine. Our national defense plank as it was sounds just fine to me. And I think we should strike this from the report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brayman.
Yes, I will vote against striking this. I think Mr. Seebeck has eloquently stated the reasons why a contractual commitment to our veterans is different from all the many other contractual commitments that are made. I have been fortunate enough not to have had to serve. I did register for the Vietnam era draft. I was in the last 3 months of birthdays that had to, and I remember being very glad that I did not have to disrupt my education for it. I am very grateful to the people who have served, and I think it's extremely important for people in my generation and just a little bit earlier who served in Vietnam that we go back and acknowledge that there were some serious mistakes made in the way we treated them at that time and afterwards. And I think this is a very important plank to indicate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brayman. Mr. Choco.
Okay, I think that we should strike the plank. Star Child and Mr. Brown said it all pretty well, but I'll also note that I believe it was Clayton in the chat made a good point that any contracts that the U.S. government has are of this sort are invalid because they require stealing via taxation to pay those claims. So that's not a valid contract in any reasonable sense. And I'd also say that it's pretty hard for me to get my head around the idea that most veterans that are alive, I guess there's a handful of older ones that we can make some sort of case for were fighting in wars of defense, but the vast majority of these people were not doing any defending of the United States. They were in wars of aggression. They were not helping the United States. They were harmful to the United States. So I don't understand why they would have a higher claim than anyone else. I think I could make arguments that they have a lower claim than many other groups. So I think we should get this out of here. I think it's very unlibertarian, and it passed without objection. I didn't like it when we were going at it, but I could see that it was going to pass. I didn't want to have any more time. but it's bad. And I absolutely think we should get it out of here.
Okay, I'm going to call on Mr. Seebeck in just one moment. I do like to have a light touch when it comes to these things, but it seems like passions on both sides are justifiably running very high. And if we could please just, I understand I understand the passion on both sides. And as, if you permit me this, I consider Mike one of my best friends. I understand this issue is very, very dear to him. And even if you disagree, I ask that you just, please respect that sometimes things are dear to people's heart. And conversely, to Mr. Seebeck, please don't take criticisms of it personally. But a lot of us have issues we're all very, very passionate about. And if we could just remember that we're all libertarians wanting the best for our party. Mr. Seebeck.
Well, thank you, but I'm not taking this personally. But
Okay.
I do believe in it. And I disagree with some of the statements that Mr. Chokol said, because he's conflating policy with implementers of the policy. And that is a flawed argument. This proposal is about the implements of that policy, not the policy itself. That was stated in the rationale in the first place. And this was very specifically worded to separate those two. And I can't emphasize that enough. It doesn't matter whether there's a claim about these contracts are illegal because of being stolen money to pay for it. The government has a duty to defend people, and they have to have the means to do that. And that is laid out in our laws, and they're valid laws, and therefore the contracts are valid, whether we may agree that the taxation to pay for it is theft or not. That's the harsh reality of the situation. What it comes down to is this, okay? These people, and yes, they are in a different state, as Mr. Brayman stated, than the average contract with anybody from the government, whether it's legal or not. And that matters, okay? It matters a lot. We shouldn't have to have an issue of homeless veterans in this country. And I see a lot of them here in Colorado Springs, okay? And we have 5 military bases here, and we're just barely getting a VA hospital up and off the ground. It's worse up in the Denver area. In any place where there's a military base or more than one, it's a problem. Okay, this is a case of where government and the major parties have abandoned these people. We should not.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Would anyone else like to speak to Star Child's motion to strike / motion to rescind the proposals? Okay, seeing no further speakers, obviously there is objection. So if Mr. Secretary, you would take a roll call vote.
Yes, Madam Chair. We are going to start with New York. Mark Brayman.
This is a no to the removal of the plank.
Oh, thank you. Let me explain. Star Child's motion was to strike / rescind. So a yes vote would mean that this proposal is rescinded. It will not be in our report. A yes, what did I just say? Oh, a no vote would keep it as it were. And
So
in
no.
the order we previously voted on.
No.
Ted Brown,
Aye.
Matt Choko,
Aye.
Sean Hickman,
No.
Sean Dempsey,
Aye.
Ken Matz,
Nay. No.
Josh McHose,
Aye.
Omar Rakura will vote aye. Mike Seebeck.
Of course, no.
Okay, Star Child,
Aye.
Curry Taylor,
Aye.
John Thompson,
No.
okay. Did I miss anyone? Madam Chair, I'm showing 7 in favor, 5 opposed, No express abstentions.
Was anyone missed?
I'm not seeing anyone. I have 12 votes
Okay.
here and there are 13 people
Okay.
that can vote. So the last one would be you, but it's 7-5.
Yeah, no, I'm not voting. Okay, the motion to rescind has passed and proposal T will be stricken from our report. Mr. McHose was next in line. Mr. McHose.
Okay, I don't know how to go about this kind of motion. Would it be reconsidering proposal S, since I have some amendment I would like to make to it?
One moment, let me pull up proposal S, which is 1.6 parental rights. Yes, it would, well, I have a question for you. Your, are you wishing to amend language? Are you wishing to amend language that we changed in committee? Or are you wishing to amend language that's part of the original plank that was left unchanged?
I'm intending on leaving language that was already there and fixing a misspellation, a grammatical error, basically.
Well, okay, before I can, let, if anyone saw that Seinfeld episode, why don't you just tell me what movie you want to watch? What's the amendment that you have? And then I'll let you know what it needs to do.
It's, like I said, I'm intending on keeping language that is being removed.
Uh-huh.
So what's in red, I would be keeping it and then fixing where it says so after, okay, so it would be the second sentence. We encourage private arbitration and mediation of family issues such as marriage. We just missed the such as there, but otherwise.
Okay, I think this is just a scrivener's error. This was originally Mr. Brayman's proposal.
That was mine.
I thought, oh, okay, for some reason I thought it was Mr. Brayman's. So I don't, this is to me very obviously just an error. It's not a substantive change. Rather than going through the whole reconsider process, I'm just going to ask the committee, is there an objection to correcting that to be such as marriage, cohabitation, adoption, custody, disputes, divorce, so on and so forth? I think it's a very obvious typographical error, brain burp. Okay, seeing no objection, we're making that such as.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Oh, okay, I found it. Such as.
Yes.
Right there. So that was missing?
Just the word as is missing.
Yeah, just the word as is missing.
Was it missing from my end or your end or we're
I don't know. All I know is
somehow it got lost, maybe.
Somehow
maybe
it got lost. It really, as long as we all don't have an objection with it, it doesn't really matter where, as long as we fix it.
Okay. It was adopted 4-2. Okay.
Okay. All right. I believe Starchild had another motion.
I know. I still was trying to amend.
Okay, so the such as there's no problem with. What else did you have, Mr. McHose?
It was that the text in red, I would like to leave it.
Okay, that would require a reconsideration. That I'm just looking at this. This makes things complicated. Yep, that would require reconsideration of the plank. It opens the whole thing up to, it's as if it's getting proposed again, which just realize you can risk it being voted down entirely.
That's fine. We kind of took it up as an email ballot.
Okay.
I don't feel enough people actually voted on it or not.
Okay.
And I don't feel enough people participated, being that like we had 12 abstentions and 6 votes in favor. So there was a lot of people basically also in the comments saying they were confused on the end statement.
Okay.
The end
No problem.
statement based on the courts, and they didn't understand how outside of courts, so I have no issue.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were clear on what you were asking for and didn't have some unintended consequences. So the motion on the table is to move to reconsider, and Mr. McCose was on the winning side of this vote originally. Did you wish to speak to it further, Mr. McCose?
I've spoke to all the issues.
Okay, Mr. Cholko.
If it's in order for me, Mr. McCose, what is the reason you want to see the red text returned?
There were a lot of comments that people would be in favor of the motion if that language was kept.
Okay, so I don't feel super strongly about this, but I think I'm going to oppose the motion to reconsider. I don't like the idea of calling out those specific rights, the right. I mean, I guess we could argue there's a right to be free from abuse and neglect, that's a legitimate right. I think it probably is, but there's also a lot of other legitimate rights. And I feel like if we're calling out these couple, I don't know, as I'm saying that out loud, and I'm not sure I agree with myself actually. So forget all this stuff I said.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
So I will also speak against reconsideration. Striking those two words, abuse and neglect, to me was one of the main reasons that I supported this amendment. I find those two terms to be extremely vague and could be interpretable in a myriad of number of ways. And I outlined many examples when we spoke about this on email. What one person could view as abuse, another family down the street might think is not an abuse. It might in fact be a proper way of raising a child, and vice versa. And I think that the diversity of libertarian thought kind of makes us want to steer clear of these vague terms. I've never liked those terms in this particular plank in the platform for many years, and so I'm going to vote against reconsideration.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Seeback.
Yeah, just a point of, I guess, personal. Can we scroll down a little bit to get the whole proposal on the screen before I say anything about it?
Mr. Secretary.
Working on it. Oh,
Okay.
I went too far.
Is that all of it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
all
thank
of it.
you.
Yeah, right there where it says.
Okay, thank you. Let me look at it a minute and then come back to me, please.
Okay, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Gosh. I agree with Mr. McCose about, the lack of participation online. I'm looking at the email about, I think I forgot to vote on this. I don't remember how I was going to vote on it, to be honest with you. And now that we're here, and I've been very adamant about, let's just move on. I feel like just for that reason, I'm going to vote not to reconsider this. But I sympathize with Ms. McCose and really anybody that wanted to have new proposals or newer proposals heard. So yeah, I'm probably not going to support this, unfortunately. We just got to roll with it, I guess.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Seebeck, are you ready now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be opposed to reconsidering this. Abuse and neglect are very subjective in nature. I know people have touched on this already. Whereas rights of children are a lot more objective in terminology. Yes, there's going to be some subjectivity attached to that too, but not as much. There are people who have said that homeschooling a child is considered abuse and neglect, which is frankly absurd. My homeschooled son is in college. They're loaded terms, and getting them out of here, I think, makes the plank better. I think that what we have here is actually very good as it is. Let's not try to make perfect the enemy of the good. I think what we have here is just fine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Would anyone else like to speak on the motion to reconsider? Mr.
If
McCombs.
anyone is not going to object to this, I would like to withdraw my motion to reconsider.
Okay, Mr. McCombs would like to withdraw his motion to reconsider. Is there an objection by the committee to his withdrawal of his motion to reconsider? Seeing none, your motion is withdrawn. Okay, we are now back on our list of ordering. Miss Starchild.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to also move to drop proposal Q,
Okay,
which is a one-word proposal to delete the word sufficient before military in the national defense plank.
okay, so this would be a motion to rescind that proposal or strike/rescind. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I don't actually feel super strongly about this, but I just, looking at it, I don't think it really changes anything significantly. Removing that word, I think it leaves the entire plank, with the same sort of basic problem of vagueness that we had in it originally. And it just doesn't seem to me like it's worth taking the time of the convention to remove a single word where it's really not going to make a big impact. I think we have more important things to consider.
Okay, thank you. Starchild, Mr. Choco.
So I agree with Starchild. I don't feel real strongly about this plank either, but I think it's not very important. And it is pretty far down the list, so it's highly unlikely that we're going to get to it anyway. But if we are working down that far down the list, the planks or the proposals that come after it, in my opinion, are more important. So I would like to get this thing out of the way. So I will be voting in favor of the motion to, what's the proper wording? The motion to what?
Rescind.
Rescind. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I let me put my hand down. As I'm getting my proposal queue up. Okay, national defense, sufficient military. Oh, okay. I just want to say, Mr. Choco made a point somewhere earlier today or on the list of things that are so low, something to that effect. And so this is so low on the list. I'll support this, but at this point, I don't really want us to keep going one by one at the bottom of the list. It's there, it's at the bottom of the list. It's highly unlikely we're going to get to it. So I think if this is where we're at, everybody read the room. I think it's time to wrap this up. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to striking proposal Q? Is there any objection to rescind/strike proposal Q?
I object.
Okay, there is an objection. Mr. Secretary, will you please take a roll call vote?
Okay, let me get a ballot out, a new one, because I'm just doing something else. 1 second. I gotta go to page 2, and this is proposal Q. Okay, Mark Raymond.
So I think I don't want to drop this, so I think I'm voting nay, right?
Yeah, right, correct. If you do not wish to drop it, that would be a no vote. If you do wish to drop it, you'd vote yes.
So I'm voting nay.
Madam Chair, if I may, that might be a little bit confusing because we're talking about dropping a proposal to drop a word. So perhaps you could just clearly
Madam Chair.
state.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
This is debate.
No, I'm not debating. I'm just trying to make sure it's understood what people are
Is
voting.
anyone unclear as to what we are voting on? Okay, please continue with the roll call vote.
Ed Brown.
Abstain.
Okay, Matt Choco.
Aye.
Sean Hickman.
Abstain.
Okay, Sean Dempsey,
Abstain.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McCose,
Nay.
Omar Ricoro will vote aye. Mike Seebeck,
Aye.
Star Child,
Aye.
Curry Taylor,
Abstain.
John Thompson.
No, nay.
Okay. And alrighty. Give me a moment to get this on the board here. Again, Zoom is blocking my controls. Sheet 2. Madam Chair, I am showing 5 in favor and 3 opposed, 4 express abstentions. If I didn't miss anyone, no, I've got 12 votes.
So, excuse me, I got, oh, look a bird. So it passes. So that proposal will be dropped from our report. Mr. Secretary, if you could now please put up the list of our ordering as it now exists, that we've done a bunch of changes to make sure that everyone agrees.
Absolutely. Just give me one.
I know
second.
this may take a few moments.
Just
I feel
trying to
like
find
now would
Trish.
be a really good time for other people to propose getting rid of stuff. It seems to be going a lot smoother than I thought it would.
Okay, let me just copy from where we were over here. Striking Q. Okay. I'm gonna say current list of proposals at this time. Control V. Okay, we are going to get rid of Q. And what else did we remove besides Q? T, right. There we are. That should be correct. I'm going to double check, but that should be right.
Mr. Secretary, should we indicate the ones that have been combined by a slash? So for example, G/C
N/O.
and N/O.
You're right. That's a good idea. Thank you, fellas. And N and O were combined, right?
Yes.
That's what I was double checking. I was like, we did something else and I'm slipping here. Okay. Nope. Right there.
So how many proposals do we have now, Mr. Secretary?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is where we are at. We have this ordering. Are there any further motions, Mr. Brown?
Is it in order to move to adopt the report as amended and present it as we have now completed?
Well, we haven't gone through the rationales, and Star Child did post some objections on the list to some rationales, and one rationale has not yet been authored. So,
well, aren't those two separate things? I mean, those can be added as those would have to be voted on separately, I would imagine. But this is the order. This is the order in the items that would be in the report, is what I was meaning.
oh, well, this is right now, that's a done deal. These are the order and the items that will be in the report, absent some further.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Mr. Seebeck.
Just to add to that, the report itself has not actually been written. We just have a sequence of what's going to go in it, but it still hasn't been finalized, fine-tuned, polished, double check, triple check, and all those details, not to mention the rationale. So we still got a bit to do yet.
Now, where we are at in the agenda is motions to approve rationales.
Request for information?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
In the secretary's list, is S still there? I apologize if I'm mistaken.
It is.
Yes, it's still there. Okay. Thank you.
And I'm just looking. Yes, yes. Okay.
And
So
Madam
with-
Chair, where is a good place to find the rationales? I really haven't even seen them really.
Okay, I had posted a link the other day for Star Child,
Let me see. Maybe I'll,
but I can do it really easily. Again, proposal M still needs rationales written for it. I'm going to repost the link in the and then I'll have a suggestion here in a minute, but I'm gonna put rationales folder and I will stick the link in here.
Madam Chair, as a point of information for Mr. Brown, for the Vice Chair, I'm sharing what the committee folder looks like. This is the section of the committee folder where every single thing that's been passed is here. We may have to amend this a little bit in the committee folder, and then you select whichever one you want, and then it'll bring up the rationales.
okay.
So I'm gonna switch back now.
FYI, in some of these rationales documents, actually a better folder would probably be, Mr. Secretary, if you go back where it says committee proposals, and then there's ones that say in that same folder, documents for survey.
Committee proposals.
Yeah, go there.
Documents.
Actually, let's work off of the rationales in this folder. Not that the rationales have changed, because none of them have. But when I was preparing the documents for the survey, in some of the 3-column markup, there were some errors that I fixed. And I don't want those to be distracting to people. So these are the most current versions of the rationales. So let me stick this on the list as well. If anyone is looking at the old folder, just realize that I'm aware that some of the 3-column markup, the changes didn't get transferred over properly to if passed, the proposal will read. There were some errors there that I fixed. Just concentrate on the actual rationales rather than any other part of it, and you'll be fine. So I'm also going to post this link. Now, the only person who has raised any objections so far has been Star Child. We have about 15 minutes left in the meeting. What I suggest we do is take a look at the objection that Star Child raised to, I believe it was at least one of the rationales. You'll have to remind me, Star Child.
It was M, but actually this may have been, it wasn't actually about the rationale. It was about some of the wording in the 3-column markup. May have been one of the errors that you fixed. I don't know.
That it was one of them. That was one of the errors that got fixed.
Okay. Well, that might not be relevant anymore. I actually had the same issue as Ted of having trouble finding. There's just been too many links floating around. I don't know if I saw the specific one of the rationales either. If you could also post the link in the chat, Karen Ann, that would be helpful. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see what the current wording is on M, because yeah, there was wording in the proposal language missing that showed up in the final version of it in the 3-column format. So I don't know if that wording made it into the proposal or not. I can't remember how it was voted on, but I actually like that wording, so I hope it did.
Well,
We'll see, I guess.
the ones that are in the document for survey, the 3-column thing should be correct. But what we're looking at right now is rationales. We still do need rationales written for.
Okay, well, if I could, the proposal in question M, marketplace freedom, I believe is the title. If adopted, will read heading include a sentence that is not under the proposed amendment
Okay,
heading.
I'll have to take a look at that. The middle column of the proposed amendment is correct. In the final report, I will double check all the, if adopted, will read. The middle column is correct.
Okay, so I guess we deleted that sentence then. There was a sentence about, does we reject government charter of corporations? Now, if anyone remembers if we did delete that sentence or not.
Yeah,
adopted.
that was from the 20, that was never in our platform. That's a copy paste error from the 2020 platform committee report. That was a proposal from 2020 that this committee did not adopt.
Okay,
However, Star Child, you are free to submit a minority report if you can get 3 other people to join in with you. That includes that language.
okay,
Just FYI. Okay,
Okay.
Since no one really had objections right now to the
It's-
rationales, but let me finish, please, because the crosstalk is driving everybody a little bit crazy, but me in particular. I don't have good concentration when it's there. I'm going to make a suggestion to the committee. I suggest that over the weekend, as soon as possible, I am in Wisconsin this weekend, but I'll have plenty of airport time, that I put together the draft report with the rationales as they exist now in one document and send it to the list. That we do not meet on Monday, to give you guys time to look at this draft report and the draft rationales and put any kind of objections or potential amendments on the list. And we will keep the scheduled meeting for Tuesday and for Thursday. On Tuesday, we will consider any amendments to the rationales. And if we could get through those quickly and approve the report, we can cancel Thursday's meeting. So that's what I'm suggesting. Actually, it's going to require a motion. So let me formally word this for the secretary. Mr. Secretary, my motion is that Monday's meeting be canceled and that the chair prepare a draft committee report with the existing rationales to be distributed to the committee over the weekend for consideration at the Tuesday meeting. And if everything can be adopted at the Tuesday meeting, the Thursday meeting will be canceled. If not, we'll continue obviously to the Thursday meeting.
if this is just taking the existing rationale language, Madam Chair, would you have time to get out sooner than Monday?
No, well, sooner than Monday, yes, it'll be over the weekend. All I can tell you is I'm going to do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
My intent would be to do it tomorrow. I can't promise that because I'm flying tomorrow and you never know what kind of weird, but my intent is to do it tomorrow. If not, it'll be over the weekend, but it will be before Monday. I'm going to try for tomorrow.
Okay.
Mr.
Madam-
Ruchiro.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm gonna make a motion, but before I do, I want to make sure this properly reflects what you were saying. Let me just scroll down a little bit here.
Didn't you
Most-
just make a motion, Madam Chair?
I did, and he wants to make sure I have the word that he captured.
Oh, I thought he
My
was saying he
wording.
wanted to make his own motion.
I
He
did.
did, but he wanted, I think it's to amend mine. He wanted to make sure he had my motion down first.
May 2nd is Monday, right? Or May, yes, May 3rd.
Actually, already there's something incorrect there. It's the first part's correct. I moved to cancel the Monday, May 2nd meeting, and for the chair to prepare a draft report with the existing rationales.
Okay, prepare a draft report with existing. And that's why I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, with the existing rationales to be submitted to the committee by Sunday night. Obviously, I'm going to try to do it tomorrow.
You mind just leaving it broadly there to be submitted to the committee to be considered at Tuesdays?
I think Star Child wants a firm commitment on a deadline.
Okay. So to be by Sunday, you want to say?
Yeah, by Sunday evening.
A Sunday, what's Sunday? May 1?
Just put
Yeah.
by Sunday. Sunday would give the whole, by Sunday, May 1st,
May 1st. That's what I mean. Yeah, Sunday. May
yeah.
1st.
to be considered at the Tuesday, May 3rd meeting.
Okay.
And then there's another sentence. If a final report is adopted at the Tuesday, May 3rd meeting, the Thursday, May 5th meeting will also be canceled. Again, I want you guys to have adequate time to review this. So believe me, I'm extremely motivated to get you this report as soon as possible, because I think all of us are looking forward to having some, weeks without committee meetings, if,
Wow.
One moment, Star Child, because Mr. Ricuro was first, because he said he first
Sure.
wanted to make sure he had my language correct, and I believe he wants to make a motion.
No. I want to dispose of this first and then make a motion.
Okay, Star Child.
Point of order regarding the wording.
Yes, Mr. Seebeck?
Yeah, you've got Monday, this May 2nd meeting, and for the chair prepared a draft report. That don't sound right.
And for the chair to
Prepared.
prepare.
Okay, yeah, just want to get it right.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Star Child?
Yeah, I generally abstain on questions of scheduling meetings because I think my schedule is probably a little bit more flexible than most people's, but I wanted to, I know you said straw polls are not in order, but I was wondering if people have conflict Wednesday. I was thinking moving the Tuesday meeting possibly to Wednesday. Tuesday isn't great for me, and that would give us an extra day.
I've already set these. And
I know.
If you want to make some kind of motion on the list and get sponsors and things like that, I'm not moving the meetings around. I set those using, we need to get this report out, and
Yeah. No, I agree. This would just be moving one meeting one day,
yeah,
not
but we will
reducing the
spend
number
a
of
half an
meetings.
hour on this, and I'm not willing to do that. The meeting is set for Tuesday.
Well, I'd like to hear you. I mean, is there a problem with Wednesday?
The meeting is set. I don't.
I mean, a
Star
motion
Child,
to move the date would be in order, would it not, Madam Chair?
Let me think of the amount. What day is today? Thursday? No, there isn't 5. Wait, hold on. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yes, it would be. Is that what you are moving, to move from Tuesday to Wednesday?
Correct.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to move Tuesday's meeting to Wednesday. Did you need to speak to that further, Star Child?
Just that I have a personal conflict. If other people, if there's some reason why Wednesday is bad for people, I'm, willing to go with the majority of the committee. Unfortunately, I guess we can't take a straw poll, but, I just, it would work better for me. I don't know about anybody else. It would also give us an extra day, and give you a little bit more, less urgency to have something to us before Sunday.
And no matter what, my deadline is Sunday.
Okay. Well, that would give us a couple days to look over the rationales rather than just one day.
But the rationales are in the folder. The only thing that's going to change between now and next week is that they're going to be put in the order that we just voted on in one document. I'm not changing anything, except for if there's typographical errors or obvious Scrivener's errors, obviously. But y'all
Give
can
us an
start
extra day to look stuff
reviewing
over
the
then anyway.
rationales now. So that's the motion on the floor. Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. I have it here. Move from Tuesday. Start time.
Oh, did you wish to speak? Your hand was up.
No. In fact, I'm going to put my hand down because at this point I was going to move to adjourn, but then I just realized we're already close to it. So let's go.
Okay, Mr. Seebeck.
Actually, is this debatable?
Yes, it is.
Okay, then I'm actually in favor of canceling the Monday because we have state party activities going on that.
Well, there's okay, we're on the amendment, right?
I'm sorry, then I'm getting ahead of it. Never
Well,
mind.
actually, oh my God, I got ahead of myself too. Is there any objection to canceling Monday's meeting so that all we can deal with is Star Child's motion to move Tuesday to Wednesday? So our only question is whether we're going to meet Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, I don't know if I object to that, but the motion deals with more than just that. It
Yeah.
says on what grounds we'll cancel the Thursday meeting as well. But I have
Okay,
a,
so there's a motion then to amend the Harlow's motion, which will be to I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to word this. Move to cancel Monday meeting, okay, but put a period. Star Child, I think we have to dispose of my motion first, and then you're gonna have to move to.
That's fine.
And we're gonna run out of time, I think, before we're gonna be able to get to this unless there's a motion to extend time. Or unless we can dispose of this quickly. Star Child is going to move the Tuesday meeting to Wednesday. However, is there any objection to disposing of my motion? Is there any objection to the motion right now, which is as is worded on the screen, knowing that Star Child's next gonna move the Tuesday meeting to Wednesday?
so I don't know if I object. I have a question about it.
Sure.
What is the point of canceling Monday now rather than just waiting to see if we're ready to have it and canceling it if we're not?
To give everyone proper time to, if I get you the rationales by Sunday.
But the rationales already exist.
They do.
So I feel like we're just unnecessarily kicking the can down. Anyway, I guess I'm not opposed to, I'm just trying to understand what the point of this is. It doesn't seem like there is much point. And it also on the setting a criteria for canceling the Thursday meeting, that just seems to unnecessarily tie our hands. What if something else came up that we wanted to deal with on Thursday and we passed this resolution that says it's canceled if we pass our final report, then we can't deal with whatever that other thing would be on Thursday because we canceled that meeting.
That is certainly a risk. I could just let you know that as the person who unilaterally scheduled the Thursday meeting, my intent was only to deal with the report. So that's why I put that in there. We are.
Okay, I'm not going to oppose it. If other people vote against it, I will, but I'm not going to oppose it and tie up time.
Okay, is there any
Motion to
objection?
extend for 5 minutes?
Is there any objection to extending for 5 minutes? Vocalize it, because with hands up all over the place, I don't know what everybody's hands are up for. Okay, we're extended for 5 minutes. Is there any objection to the motion as worded on the screen?
I guess I'm kind of persuaded by what Matt's saying and you saying the rationales are already done. I'd be okay with keeping Monday's meeting. I'm just trying to avoid a Tuesday meeting if possible.
Okay, there's another reason for canceling Monday besides y'all's reviewing of the rationales. I want to give you guys enough time to discuss amongst yourselves on the list, propose changes to the rationale so that we're not wordsmithing at a meeting. So that was another reason for canceling Monday. But there is an objection. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Mr. Seebeck?
Yeah, all I was gonna say was, yeah, let me try that again. Was that Monday, there's a party activities locally to deal with, so I'm in favor of canceling that anyway.
Mr. Brayman?
No, I did not intend to have.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was speaking on the Star Child proposal.
All right. Is there any objection to the motion as worded on the screen?
I guess I won't object if Mike says there's conflict on Monday too. It's
Okay,
Yeah.
if there's no objection, then that passes. Now we're on to Star Child's motion to move the Tuesday, May 3rd meeting to Wednesday, May 4th, same bat time. I believe you already spoke to that Star
Yes.
Child. Mr. Brayman.
I have a New York New York Rules Committee meeting on Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:30. So I don't favor this move from Tuesday to Wednesday.
Thank you, Mr. McCose.
Sounds like next week's a very busy week for everyone. I have a flight at 5:30 on Tuesday, so which is 30 minutes after our meeting starts, but I'm hoping we will have quorum. So
Do you know if Ms. Clift would be able to attend?
you can ask her.
Okay. Mr. Choco.
I think I actually support moving the meeting because if we're canceling Thursday anyway, and we want more time to look at the stuff, we have
We're
a better
canceling
chance.
Monday anyway. Thursday's contingent.
Right, but I think we have a better chance of getting through all of our stuff on Wednesday if, it gives us an extra day. So I think it would make sense to move it to Wednesday.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond, did you intend to keep your hand up?
No, my apologies.
Mr. Secretary?
Yes, Madam Chair, request for information. Did we keep Monday and I missed it?
No, we did not. Monday is
Okay.
canceled.
So the meeting-
That motion is passed as it is on the screen.
Right,
We're
right.
now on a motion to move
Okay.
Tuesday's meeting to Wednesday.
Okay, I support keeping Tuesday. I think, thank you, Mr. Brayman, you just reminded me, I think I also have a Florida Rules Committee. I was elected to the Rules Committee. I got to make those meetings. And then later on in the week, we have a Formula One race here in the state of Florida in Miami. I'm going to be working that. So I'm not even going to be available on Thursday. So yeah, I want to keep things as they are. And we've got 2 more minutes, please, come on.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, there obviously is objection to moving. So Mr. Secretary, if you could do a roll call vote, what we are voting on is moving Tuesday's meeting to Wednesday. A yes vote would move Tuesday's meeting to Wednesday. A no vote would keep it on Tuesday. I think Star Child, you were trying to,
Yeah, it sounds like maybe there's more people actually that have something on Wednesday.
the motion is on the floor and we are at the end.
Well, I was
We're
gonna
at
offer
orders of
to-
the day, which is to go to a vote. So we're going to
I was
vote on
gonna
this.
offer to withdraw it if.
Well,
No.
some people do want to move it, so it's too late for that.
Okay, never mind.
Mr. Secretary,
Mark Brayman.
No,
Okay, Ted Brown,
No,
Matt Choco.
You're not available Wednesday, right?
Right.
Then no.
Sean Hickman,
No.
Sean Dempsey,
No.
Ken Matz,
No.
Josh McHose,
No,
Omar Crowe votes no. Mike Seebeck.
I could do either Tuesday or Wednesday, so I'll abstain.
Okay, Star Child,
I'll abstain as well.
Curry Taylor,
Abstain.
John Thompson.
Abstain.
Okay. Gonna have to find this right here. Madam Chair, I'm showing 0 in favor, 8 opposed, and 4 express abstention.
I think we gave Mr. Brayman an aneurysm.
no, I may have a gallstone that I'm passing right now. So
Oh, that's worse. Well, maybe
Oh,
not.
man, I know what that feels like. You have my sympathy.
Okay, so the meeting is Tuesday. Monday's meeting is canceled. I'll see you at 9 PM on Tuesday. I do ask that you all start reviewing the rationales now, start discussing amongst yourselves any objections. Please, someone offer a draft rationale for proposal M so that we do have something. If not, I'm going to draft something to at least so that we have a starting point. And I will get to you, draft one of the report as soon as possible, hopefully tomorrow. And with that, we are adjourned at 11:05 Eastern. And thank you everyone for your hard work on this very long journey we've been on together.
Just to be clear, Thursday is after Tuesday, the only other meeting we have scheduled at this point for the usual time.
Correct, but the committee can, and you can over email ballot, schedule additional meetings. I am looking at, once our report is finalized, at another town hall. But that is the only after our report is finalized, that's the only meeting that I intend upon unilaterally scheduling. But
So what's the deadline for the report? That's
oh, well, we're missing it already. So I'm trying to get just as close as possible. The deadline for the report was Sunday, but I had already informed the convention oversight committee that we would get as close to it as possible, because bylaws isn't going to be ready by Sunday either. And Mr. Turney thanked me. We are adjourned. Anyone can leave if they'd like. This is more informal discussion. And let me stop recording. Mr. Turney thanked me and asked us to please get it to them as soon as possible, because it will save the party printing costs.
Did you mention a date for that town hall?
No, I was gonna discuss it on the list once our report was finalized. I wanted to keep our eyes on the prize of getting the report finalized.